All right, team. It's too hot to have a hood on, so I have this hat on. Believe it or not. I am on page for a long way down. I'm on page 237. A stranger. A stranger, chubby, light skin, almost white. The type that turns red, that burns, dirty brown hair curled up on his head, got in the elevator like a normal guy. Didn't acknowledge nobody. No dead body. No live body. No smoke. Normal. So I figured he was real, which made me real embarrassed about the pee, but made me real happy I wasn't all the way gone. The thick, pale dude stood staring at his blurry reflection in the metal door when Buck started trying to get his attention. Yo, Buck said. Psst. The guy didn't budge. Yo, dude, Buck called, reaching for his shoulder. The man turned around. I know you. Buck flashed his big choppy grin. Your name's Frick, right? Only the people who know me, the guy said, reluctantly reaching for Buck's hand. Remember me? Buck said, like a distant relative at a reunion. Buck, he said, showing the back of his t-shirt again. Oh shit, Buck? Head cocked. Buck? Arms wide. What's good, man? Nothing is good at all. This is Danny, Mark, Mikey, and you remember Sean? This is his little brother, Will. Before Frick could answer, I asked Buck how he knew him, what his connection was to me, what he was doing in this spooky-ass elevator. How do I know him? Buck scoffed, shaking his head. This is the man who murdered me. Wait. Hold the hell on. On my brother, on Sean's name, you serious? Wait, what? Wait. What? You heard me right. See Frick here. Buck paused. Why'd they call you that anyway? He asked, sidetracked. It's really Frank. Twin sister, Frances. Frick and Frack came from my uncle. Stupid shit old men call you stick in the hood. Frick explained. Who are you telling, matter of fact, because of you? Buck paused again, turned back to me. Because of him, Will. The only reason people around here know my government name is from reading it on my damn tombstone. Buck's real name was James. I've heard it only one time. Buck better than James. Buck short for Young Buck. Nickname given by stepfather as a joke because Buck couldn't grow no facial hair. Smooth baby face, nothing rough about it. Buck was two-sided, two dads, Step and Real. Step praised him, a preacher, a real preacher, not scared of no one, praying for anyone, helping everyone. Real run through him, a bank robber, would steal air from the world if he could get his hands on it. People always said he was taught to do good, but doing bad was in his blood. And there's that nighttime Mom always be talking about. It'll snatch your teaching from you. Put a gun in your hand, a grumble in your gut, and some sharp in your teeth. But he didn't start that way. At first, Buck was a small-time hustler, dime bags on the corner. Same old story until my pop got popped at the payphone that night. Then he became a big brother to Sean and a robber to the bunch of the suburban neighborhoods every morning. He knew better than to jack people around here. And come back with money, the most, sneakers, the best, and jewelry, which he loved to show off. Back to Frick. I was shocked when I heard that this dude killed Buck. Yeah, Buck said, hand on Frick's shoulder, all buddy. This the guy. He glanced at me. Sean never told you that story? He never really talked about it, I said. Sean just said you were shot and that he knew who did it. I explained, remembering that time. Sean's face a candle, melted wax, flame flickering out. I remembered the cops banging on our door to question him, to tell him they heard he was close to James. That was the one time I heard Buck's real name. And to ask him if he knew who might have done it, killed him, shot him twice in the stomach and the street. Sean ain't saying nothing to the cops, to no one, just locked himself in his room for hours, and the next day I caught him sitting on his bed pushing bullets into gun clips. Well, let me tell you, Buck said. We were hanging out at the court sharing a bottle of something cheap and strong just before it went down, Buck said. Sean was telling me how he had gotten into a little scuffle, nothing major, with one of the dudes from the Dark Suns, Buck said. Said he had to get your mother some kind of soap she uses that he could only get from the store down by where they hang out. A dumb thing to say would have been to tell Buck how important that soap was, that it stopped Mom from scraping loose a river of wounds. But instead, I just said, Riggs. I'm not sure what his name is, Buck said. Said Sean said he was going to the store when that dude, Riggs, ran up on him talking all this shit. Said it was nothing serious, just popping off at the mouth about how he was a dark son and how Sean ain't belong round there. Said Sean was in his feelings, all huff, explaining to Buck how he had grown up with the kid, Riggs, and how the kid was brand new. Buck said he told Sean to let it roll off, but he couldn't because that's just how he was. All emotional all the time, Buck said. While he's going on about this dude, I'm trying to show him this chain I just got from some kid out in the burbs. Didn't even snatch it. I just growled a little bit and asked for it, and the sucker just took it right off and handed it to me. Ain't even snatch it. Buck said, thinking back on that day like he still couldn't believe it. But what does that have to do with my brother and this guy? I said, pointing to Frick. Hold on, I'm getting to that. So because Sean was tripping so hard about this dude, I gave him the gold chain, Buck said, proud. A gift, his first one. Then Sean left the basketball court. And that's when I came, Frick chimed in, a big smile on his face like he had just won some kind of award. How to become a Dark Sun. Number 1, turf, 9 blocks from where I live. Number 2, The Shining, a cigarette burn under the right eye. Number 3, dark deed, robbing someone, beating someone, or the worst, killing someone. No, apparently you also gotta be corny. I was assigned my dark deed for initiation, Frick explained. And it was to kill Buck? Nah, he said. Funny thing is, I was just supposed to rob him. I didn't think it was a funny thing at all. Everybody knew Buck was always flossing, always flashing, but nobody would touch him because of his pops. Both of them, real and step. Gangsters always respect older, original gangsters, OGs, and preachers who act like gangsters. Frick said his plan was to jack the Jack boy. Said he knew Buck would be at the court, so he ran up on him, pulled the hammer, and he got laughed at. Buck said he couldn't get got by a dude who he could tell was as soft as the suburban joker he'd just jacked. Everybody in the elevator laughed, except me. Whatever, man, Frick said. I was just trying to earn my stripes. Can't knock me for that. He turned around, caught eyes with Pop and Uncle Mark. They nodded in agreement. No judgment over here, Uncle Mark said, throwing his hands up. Anyway, this crazy fool Buck swings at me, just tries to take me even though I had a boomstick. Frick looked at Buck, shook his head, then cut his eyes to me. I got scared, so I pulled the trigger. Buck bent his pinky and ring finger back and turned his hand into a gun. Bang, bang. Again, what does this have to do with Sean, I asked. Sean stuck to the rules, Frick replied. You mean, I swallowed. You mean he... I struggled to get it out. Now Buck put the finger gun against Frick's chest and repeated. Bang, bang. Actually, he only pulled the trigger once, so it was more like bang, Frick corrected. 15 bullets. Took me out before I even got my shining, Frick said. Rubbed just under his right eye like it still rubbed him the wrong way. Frick yanked his collar down. See this? He asked, exposing a hole in his chest. Dime-sized, disgusting, bloody but not bleeding. Your brother's fingerprints are in there somewhere. Buck, hod, replied before I had a chance, and I bet it's his middle finger. When the joke was over, I asked how Sean could have known Frick was the guy who killed Buck. Buck said there was only one other person at the court that night, always there all the time. A young kid running back and forth trying to dunk, not shoot. Said he thinks I might have known him. Tony. And he wasn't trying to dunk. He was trying to fly. Tony talking ain't the same as snitching. Snitching is bumping gums to badges, but Tony ain't run to no cops or cry to no cameras, nothing like that. Tony talking was laying claim, loyalty, in allegiance to the asphalt around here, an attempt to grow taller and get bigger, one way or the other. Now let me ask you, how you know this kid Riggs got your brother? Buck fired back. Because he clearly got revenge for Sean for taking out this guy. I pointed to Frick. Frick, you know a guy named Riggs? Danny asked out of nowhere, her voice floating over my shoulder. Little dude, big mouth, dark sun. I figured the description might help. Frick looked at me, confused. Who? Anagram number 5. I wish I knew an anagram for poser. Frick looked at me like I was crazy, shrugged his shoulders and turned around and faced the door. Couldn't see his reflection. Couldn't see any of their reflections. Just mine. Blurred. Frick had his own cigarettes and his own matches. Finally, the elevator came to a stop. When the elevator door opened, no one was there, so I reached over and pushed the L button again and again and again and again, because that's what you do when you want the door to close faster. Another one of those elevator rules. Come on, I huffed under my breath, impatient, pissed off, scared, scarred, and straight up uncomfortable being crammed in this stupid steel box, this vertical coffin, another second. Uncle Mark chuckled. You would never survive in prison, nephew. Finally, the elevator door began closing. I exhaled, happy we were almost there, 1 floor to go. And just before it was shut, before the door clicked in place, 4 fingers slipped in, just barely catching it. The elevator door began opening again. Him, Sean, stepped into the smoky box wearing exactly what he wore the night before. Blue jeans, t-shirt, gold chain. But not his alive outfit, his dead one, the one that came with bloodstains. Everybody was happy to see him. Sean, Buck yelped, reaching out for him. They slapped hands. Buck fiddled with the gold chain around Sean's neck, moved the clasp to the back. Sean looked at Danny. Look at you, he said, taking her hand, spinning her around. Uncle Mark gave him a light tap in the ribs. Big man, he said proudly. Sean turned, gave him a hug, caught a glimpse of our father. Pop! he said, natural, his face beaming. Our father wrapped his arms around Sean, cocooning him, then pulled away, shook hands like men, like partners. All, the unlive, undead, lined up against the wall, puffing their cigs, smiling, as Sean finally faced me. When we were kids, I would follow Sean around the apartment, making the strangest noise with my mouth. Hard to explain the sound. Burpy, but not a burp. Little burp, mixed with yawn, mixed with hum. Something like that. For 20 minutes straight, from bedroom to kitchen to living room back to bedroom. To punish me, he would wait for me to finish, to run out of steam, to let it go, to get tired of being immature. And then, to my surprise, he wouldn't say a word to me for the rest of the day. I looked at Sean. He looked at me. Sean, I said, but he said nothing. I repeated, Sean? Nothing. I stepped toward him, hugged him. He didn't hug back. Just stood there, awkward. A middle drawer of a man. I asked him why he wouldn't say nothing, why he was ignoring me. But still, nothing, not a word, not even a smile. I told him about the drawer, the gun, that I did like he told me, like Buck told him, like our grandfather told our uncle, like our uncle told our dad. I followed the rules, at least the first two. I hadn't cried, I hadn't snitched. Explained that I was on my way to take care of his killer, followed through with rule number 3. I told him I knew it was Riggs, told him I thought it was Riggs, then told him I knew it was Riggs again. Confessed that I was scared, that I needed to know I was doing the right thing. The rules are the rules, right? Sean? I was breaking down. The tears were coming and I did what I could to hold them back. Took my eyes off Sean, hoping to fight the crying, feeling by not looking. But everywhere else was everyone else. Cigarettes glowing like a bunch of L buttons. I looked back at Sean, tears now pouring from his eyes as he softly snotted and hiccuped like a little kid. Tears pouring from his eyes, tears pouring from his eyes, tears pouring from his eyes. I thought you said no crying, Sean, I said, voice cracking, one of my tears bursting free, but only one, so it didn't count. No crying, no crying, no crying, no crying. And even though his face was wet with tears he wasn't supposed to cry when he was alive, I couldn't see him as anything less than my brother, my favorite, my only. And there was a sound like whatever makes elevators work, cables and cogs or whatever, grinding, rubbing metal on metal, like a machine moaning, but coming from the mouth, from the belly of Sean. He never said nothing to me, just made that painful, piercing sound, as suddenly the elevator came to a stop. Random thought number 5. The sound you hear in your head, the one people call ears ringing, sounds less like a bell and more like a flat line. There was a moment before the door opened when we all just stood there, sickening, smoke thickening, crowded in this cell, this coffin, this elevator, quiet. I looked around, only seeing the orange glow of 5 cigarettes puncturing the sheet of smoke like headlights in heavy fog. Only 5 cigarettes. Sean hadn't lit one, became invisible in the cloud, and I felt like the cigarette meant for him was burning in my stomach, filling me with stinging fire. I want out. The door opened slowly, the cloud of smoke rushing out the elevator, rushing out of me like an angry wave. I caught my breath as Buck, Danny, Uncle Mark, Pop, Frick, and Sean chased behind it. The L button no longer lit. I stood alone in the empty box, face tight from dried tears, jeans soggy, a loaded gun still tucked in my waistband. Sean turned back toward me, eyes dull from death, but shining from tears. Finally spoke to me. Just 2 words, like a joke he'd been saving. You coming? And that is the end.